This is your one and only FireSpark81 with your daily dose of video goodness, and welcome back to another exciting Starbound mod spotlight. I got a really good one for you today, and it is called Smart Tubes. Alright, so let's look at how you get it. You are going to need at least an engineer's table, and then you're going to need to buy or make the conduit station. It's going to cost you 10 Durasteel bars, 10 titanium bars, 2 silicon boards, and 10 copper wire. Once you have that bad boy, you're going to place it down and it's going to provide you with everything you need for a cost. Not too expensive. You're going to need a ton of the base items. So looks like you're going to need a ton of titanium bars, like a lot, because you're going to need this conduit casing to make stuff, and yeah, it's going to take a good bit. But the good news is some things like the item conduit, you get 5 per each one you make, and it's going to cost you 1 casing. 5 bars are going to get you 1 conduit casing. So, it works out. It's a little expensive, but it's extremely OP for what it does. To set up a basic transportation network just from one box to another, you're going to need an extraction conduit, an insertion conduit, and however many item conduit you need to connect the two. That's going to cost you, for the conduit, 1 casing and 5 glass. The insertion going to cost you some glass and a silicon board. The extraction, silicon board, glass, and a battery. And of course, they're all going to cost you the casing. Each of these tabs provide you with a little bit different stuff. This is going to get you the conduit bender. We'll get into that later, as well as the speed and stack upgrades. This is your base conduit here. This is your platform conduit, meaning that it acts as a platform. You can stand on it, you can place stuff on it. And this is your facade conduit stuff. All right, let's look at we got a lot to cover because this is a rather complex mod and stuff doesn't always work like you think it would work, but I'm going to try to cover as much of it as I can, so bear with me here. Okay, so for your basic setup, what I have right here, from one box to another, just transporting from one to another. Actually, let's remove that and replace it so I can show you what it looks like when you're first going to open it up. It's going to look like this here. It may be a little intimidating, but don't worry, we're going to cover all of it. A lot of it is just basic simple stuff. Right now, this is not going to do anything. If we throw something in here, let's just throw some glass in here, you can see that it's not doing anything. What you're going to do to just transfer anything you put, I want to transfer anything I drop in here to over here. All you got to do is just click add. Click that little add button right here. That sets up your configs, and then you can see it will start transporting items from one side to the other relatively slowly. If you want to speed that up, you're going to need speed upgrades. You can drop a couple in there, and then if we drop something in there now and get that out of the way, you can see it's going much faster. The good news about those is that you can remove them and add them as you need, so you can take them back out and put them in. Really awesome feature right there. You can also do the same thing and increase your speed by increasing the amount that it takes per each time it takes something, so that's considered the stack upgrades. You can see that it's taking a rather large chunk this time instead of just taking like one at a time, and it's moving it a lot faster that way. Still going slow across, but moving it a lot faster because it's taking more per go. And we'll just let those fill up in here real quick and then take that back out. Okay, so you can then change this up and make this a little more fine-tuned if you want by saying take a specific item. So if you want to filter a specific item, you just drag your item over here, click it in that little box. You can see it fills it out here, and then you can click add, and now it will only take that item. So if I drop these in there, you can see it's not taking it. And it only wants to take the glass. So then if I drop the glass in there, you can see now that it is indeed moving the glass. And we got 1 transporting across. Then you can also tell it to take from specific sides. So if you have more than 1 box connected to this conduit, you can tell it to take from specific sides, like over here, how I have 2 on the insert. You can do the same thing with the extraction conduit. conduit and have it take from specific sides. Then we have the insert into specific sides, which we'll cover when we get over here. Then we have the take from specific slot and insert from to specific slots. So for example, I could tell this to take from slot 1 but insert to slot 5. We can click add, and now if I drop in a couple here, you can see that it will pull them and they will come over here and they should get stuck into slot 5. Come on, there you go. So that's, you know, pretty self-explanatory, easy stuff there. You can tell it to leave a certain amount, which I really like that feature. I think that feature is really neat. So let's go ahead and remove that config and we can add in a new one here. And while we're at it, let's go ahead and add some speed upgrades, because I don't feel like dealing with it being slow. So now if we put that in there and we watch it go, it should leave 5, and it did. And now the rest of them will come over here. So that's and if you notice, they also went into slot 5. So that's a really neat feature. You can configure a lot of stuff, a lot of items this way, and have them go into specific places. Now this gets a lot more complex, but there's something I want to cover before we get into more complex stuff. We have a slot here called insert IDs. And by the way, if you get confused on any of this stuff at any time while you're playing with the mod, you can click these question marks here, and it gives you a pretty in-depth explanation of what each of these do. But there are some stuff that it doesn't talk about, like something we're about to cover here. So if we take a look at what I have set up here, we have insertion IDs. So if you have these insert conduits, what you have to have, you can give them IDs. So the top one here is 1, the bottom one is 2. If we take a look at the setup here that I have, and we take a look at each of these, we have cobblestone going into insert ID that's right here, and it tells you everything you can do. You can exclude certain ones, add multiples and stuff like that. I have it inserting into slot 2, or the cobblestone here going into insert ID 1. Then I have the plant fiber being pulled out and being put into insert ID 2, so top and bottom. So if we go in here and we pull out the plant fiber and we pull out the cobblestone, now what you would expect to happen is you would expect, since this has insert IDs and you can establish specific ones and you can have different configs to do different things, and they all, you know, stemming from one extraction conduit, you would expect it to pull out and insert, you know, the cobblestone into the top here and the plant fiber at the bottom. So let's take a look at what happens when I do that. So there's that, and then we put that in there, and there you go. Everything's just going right into the top. So from what I can tell is it doesn't really know the difference between the two IDs when you put them in there. It can't split them between two IDs per one conduit. So like you could tell this to insert to 1 and to insert into 2, and like when 1 gets filled up, it would start inserting into 2 or split them, but you can't tell it to you know, do one item at the top and one item at the bottom. It doesn't know. It just can't figure it out. But what you can do is add a second extraction conduit on there, and I have this one pulling into or pulling brick out and inserting it into 1. So let's go ahead and complete that circuit. I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't connected at first, just to show you. So now we're gonna do that, and we're going to pull the plant fiber out, pull that out, and pull that out. And we're going to go in here and we're going to remove, actually, let's just remove both of these. And let's tell it, actually, let's go ahead and let it put plant fiber into 2. So plant fiber should be in the bottom and the brick should go into the top. So now if we drop in plant fiber and then we drop in the brick, and we wait patiently and watch it, you can see, I should have recolored it. You can recolor these little dots, by the way, with right here. You can change the color. As far as I can tell, that's all it does, is just show you, you know, the different items being pushed through. So now we have the brick at the top and the plant fiber at the bottom. So yeah, that's it's kind of wonky and it doesn't work quite the way you would expect it to work. But there's ways around doing this and separating stuff and fine tuning your separation beyond this. So, I mean, the other thing you could tell this to do is like we could do 1,2, and we could get rid of that and just tell it any. And we can remove this and we can add that in there. Now what'll happen is this will add anything that we drop into there will get pulled out, and when one gets filled, it will start adding to the other. Actually, you know what? I want to show you, and I can actually show you better by specifying a specific slot here. So let's tell it insert into slots 1. Okay, so now if we remove this and we click add, once slot 1 gets filled up here, it should start filling up slot 1 here. So let's go ahead and test that out there. Okay, so there you go. So now it's going to insert there and should start filling. And then once that's full, is it taking forever? All right, let's go ahead and pull that out. It should... Oh, there it goes, because that slot was full. There we go. So it does work. I didn't realize that slot was full. So yeah, so once it inserts, slot 1 fills up, and then it starts inserting into slot 2 there. And we'll pull that back out. We'll re-demonstrate that real quick, because that was my fault there. I forgot that I had stuff in the slots. So we'll just drop that in, let it pull out a couple, and then drop that in, and let it pull out a couple. There we go. So yeah, you get the idea. You can tell it to split between the two, but you can't tell it to separate specific items. You can't filter specific items between two IDs like that. What I have found out though is you can split them between the left and right. So if we take a look at the setup I have here, and this is a little more complex. This is using the knot and basically that little, what is that little symbol? The shift 6 on your keyboard makes that little symbol. That little symbol is the knot symbol. So it's telling it to put healing water into the liquid healing into the right, and not liquid healing, but anything else into the left. And if we take and grab that out there, and then we take and grab that out there, and we drop both of them in here, and we watch them go, and we just wait patiently. You can't tell which one's you can't tell the difference between them. You just got to watch it go. Now, if we look, that wasn't healing water. That is the healing water. So yeah, you can separate stuff that way. And then with these items, you can actually use categories. So you could tell it, liquid or type, the type. You can use hashtag for the type. You could tell it to separate one type of block into here, one type of block into here. Then the next thing you could do, and let's grab a little regular water, is you can then split after that. So say we have healing water and regular water in here. Now what you could do is you could add another extraction conduit onto the side here, and then tell it to say pull the liquid healing water. Let's do this here. Tell it to pull the healing water and then give this an ID. So we'll give this the ID of 1. And you could tell it to say pull healing water into insert ID 1, and then click add, and that's going to pull out. Actually, you didn't need to do that to tell it 1. You could do any, because that's the only one it's connected to, and tell it to pull it out, and then it should pull any healing water out and put it into the top one here. And then you could do a side one here that says water, and just water would go into this one over here. And then you could fine tune it even more after that. So you could say, send all of your what's this stuff, the crafting material stuff into this box up here, and then split from this box into coal goes into this box, and plant fiber goes into this box. So I mean, you have a lot of leeway with this, but it is a little wonky with the way that you go about separating things. But I mean, as you can see here, the up, down, left, right does work. Or yeah, the up, down, left, right for connecting to sides does split items and separate items. However, putting multiple configs in here with different items per will not work. Okay, so let's take a look at the facades now. So this is pretty much everything I'm gonna show you here, keep in mind, is gonna work pretty much the same way as far as separation, just different ways to get your end results. So you need this little facade wrench, and you can see I already have facades connected in here. And you just right click anywhere on the screen, and that brings up your facade wrench. And then you can it turns blue, so you can just add them in. You can also click to remove them. So I'm just gonna click to get the remover, and there it goes. So now I can, you see it's a little X now. I can remove those, and we can click that to turn it off, and we highlight over it. Now it's off. Now I can click to add them back. So as long as you're not holding the wrench though, you don't see the facades, and you can actually send items up to this crate up here. So let's go ahead and we'll just remove that, and we'll just tell this any, and we'll just drop some random stuff in there. We'll just drop a couple of these, and you can see that it's pulling them and sending them up here, and there you go. So that's how the facade works. You could actually like hide all of your stuff in a wall if you wanted to, or your flooring or stuff like that, so you don't have to see these tubes go everywhere. That's a really handy feature. I really love that feature a lot. Now the next up, we have the wireless, and we have the in and out conduits, the IO conduits. They get a little crazy and a little janky. I'm going to cover them a little bit, tell you what you can do with them, but it's a little janky. Let's cover the wireless first. So I have an extraction here, and it's extracting anything, and it's placing it into here, and then you connect those wirelesses through a wire, which is funny because they're wireless, but you have to connect them by a wire, and it skips. So it's going to just bypass all of this because it sees the wire and sees that they're connected by wire. So if I drop something in here, you can see that it's pulling it out and dropping it back in, and we're actually going to remove that because I only want that to be an input. So and then it's going to make a loop around because I have this set up as a loop system. With the IO conduits. So what the IO conduits do is they act as an insertion and extraction. You can see that you can give them an insertion ID, so they can go either way. And I have a wireless set up here, so it's showing you that it's pulling from here, but I could just as easily swap these around. So this is take, and this one's insert. So, I mean, you can tell it, say, and then you have the insertion ID here, and it's inserting into any. We'll tell it to insert into take, and then we'll add that. Now, if I put glass in here, do I have that glass? There we go. It should, if I can hit the right thing. So it's inserting into take, and oh, I would need to add a secondary wireless system. So let me grab that real quick because the wireless system is only one way. Actually, you know what we can do? We can connect it through pipes as well, so I can show you that. So the pipes go both ways, but your wireless system has an in and an out just the same. So if you're using these IO conduits, you'd probably be better off using the pipe, because the pipe can go either way. So did I make that capital? Let's remove that, add that. So there you go. Now it's doing it. I just didn't have it's case sensitive, just in case you didn't know. So, and then, yeah, it should, oh no, we need to remove that. There we go. They're falling out. No, there it goes. A little wonky there. But yeah, so you get the idea, and then this is, for some reason, it's backfiring, but this actually shows a great example that they can go either way. So it's inserting and then immediately pulling it back out. All right, that looks lagtastic, so let's remove that. Let's take a look at the conduit bender. The conduit bender is a little janky. You put the conduit in there, and you're supposed to be able to, like, you see it's facing that way. Okay, now if I rotate this, it's supposed to face that way. So if I add another one in there and then yeah. So yeah, it doesn't really work. I don't know why. I don't know if, I'm pretty sure I'm doing everything right, but this doesn't change. It's still putting the same symbol and it still comes out. So you're supposed to be able to do like crazy loops and stuff with it and make neat loops and whatever. But I can't get it to actually turn. So as far as I'm concerned, that's bugged. If I have comments for the mod author, I would say fix the conduit bender, or honestly just remove it altogether. You don't really need that. It's kind of a neat concept, but it still works just the same like you see there. And the other thing would be let this recognize separate IDs so that I can put a filter in here that says pump this item to ID 1 and pump this item to ID 2, if that's at all possible. Yeah, other than that, really great mod, and I'll probably be using it in the future. I think it's fantastic. It does give you a lot of control, even though it's a little wonky. It does give you a ton of control, and I like a lot of the features it does have with the increased movement of stacks and stuff like that. All right, that is going to wrap it up for this episode. Before I go, I just want to give a quick shout out to my Patreon supporters. Thank you so much for all of your support. You all are absolutely amazing people. If you would like to help support this channel through Patreon, please check out the link in the description below. And to my Firestarter crew, thank you guys so much for hitting that notification bell and being the first to comment. You all are awesome. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment down below. Let me know what you thought. If you're shy and you don't like to comment, just hit that thumbs up button and show your support. Until next time, thanks for watching.